We are starting up our mentor program. So if you're interested in participating as a mentor or a mentee, you can reach out to either Frank, Adrian, or Luke. If they are here, could you raise your hand so everyone could know who they are? This is Luke over at the table. And then we also have more information on our website, so you can go to ASHRAENewYork.com and sign up. It's going to be good. So we have a save the date. We are happy to announce that on 5/20/22, we will be hosting a casino night gala at Gotham Hall. That's in Midtown. So please save the date and join us. We also have a YEA game night coming up on October 27th. You can find out more information online or also talk to Luke. And we're also hosting a YEA happy hour after this event at Peter Dillon's just around the street. Me or Luke will either be leading the group over there, so you can just find us after the meeting. So let me introduce our current president. Benjamin Rodney is going to speak on this and a couple other notes before we start the event.
Hey everybody, how are you? It's good to see everyone here for our second meeting of the year. I think we have a great turnout tonight, and I know last month was our first meeting in over 19 months in person. This is our second one, so we're going to continue not just these chapter meetings, but other in-person events. So I just want to make sure to thank you guys, and if for those that don't know me, just feel free to come up anytime and introduce yourself. I also want to introduce two people that are here tonight that weren't here last time, two of our future presidents and current officers who I'm going to call out. So we have Natalie Kovac, who is our current vice president and also our gala chair that just planned this amazing gala. So I hope you all can make that. And where's Brandon? And Brandon Shiner, who is our current secretary and will be a future president of the chapter. So make sure you get to know them as the future leaders. So if you have any big ideas, let them know, because we have enough on our plate right now. So I just wanted to mention that ASHRAE actually has a national commitment with NYSERDA to do programming and various other initiatives, including training. This is not just a chapter level or regional level initiative. This is at the society level. But they are putting on ASHRAE has developed a series of programming that are all worth 1.5 PDH credits. There's 17 different programs, all on heat pump design and community heat pump design. They're available online. It's free, organized by NYSERDA. So I want to make sure everybody knows that and checks that out. You can find it on our website and in our newsletter if you're interested. So I just want to make sure everybody heard about that, because 17, that's a lot of credits, so make sure you get them. Some of the events that we just had, if you weren't able to make it, there was just a great YEA happy hour a couple weeks ago. We had over 40 people show up, YEA 35 and under, so make sure that you come to those events. And then the building tour yesterday, hosted by Train at 420 Lex. I heard that was a fantastic event, so thanks for coming to that. We also have an event coming up in November with our Cross Learning Alliance, which is with AIA and Urban Green. It's a Refrigeration 101 seminar that's appropriate for engineers and architects and everybody. So look out for that. And then our Sustainability Committee is going to be doing an integration series event with Building Energy Exchange and AIA about design and electrification, and then another event with NYSERDA on the real-time energy management program. So just look out for that. And then I just wanted to stress the mentorship programs. This is a brand new program for us. I think I said last time that we had over 95% of people support having this program in our member survey. So make sure you check that out if you are a younger ASHRAE member or someone that wants to pay it forward this year. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Ben. All right. Without further ado, I will introduce Dave Abelman, a proven visionary with 35 years of experience. Dave earned a BS in chemical engineering from Carnegie Mellon and later attended Babson College for an MBA. He's passionate about sustainability, environmental, economic, social, and political. and is a thought leader in indoor air quality, responsible for Protec's day-to-day operations and process improvement. He manages quality control and customer expectations. He's a respected award-winning consultant, speaker, trainer, and author. Dave oversees an experienced team that has completed thousands of projects throughout the Northeast, delivering client success with minimal time to value. Protec helps clients leverage best practices, preventative maintenance services that reduce risk, improve energy efficiency, and create and maintain healthier, safer, and more productive environments. Without further ado, Dave Abelman.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to put this one. Let's make sure I can. Testing, 1, 2. Everybody can hear me without the mic? Yes, thank you. Fantastic. So how do you're going to kick in the slideshow and get that going? And first of all, thank you very much, everybody, for inviting us in. We're excited to participate with everybody here this evening at New York. Thank you for making time. I'm actually from Boston right now. I'm originally from Philadelphia, so the Northeast is kind of been my home for pretty much ever. What I'm about to share with you is some content that we encourage you to share with others. Today, we'll show you why HVACR technicians who deliver preventive maintenance, as well as best practice technology, can easily become the #1 role helping New York achieve their objectives in terms of greenhouse gas reduction, emission reductions. How many people prior to me saying that thought that the HVAC technicians could have such a role? Anybody? A few people, good. We're going to show you why. It's significant. It really is. We'll show you using the underlying numbers regarding one of the very biggest problems that we're experiencing in New York. Take a look at some energy efficiency options, reveal the best 2. In particular, we'll review preventive maintenance and show you why doing nothing is not an option. We'll explain the critical path to get people to make those changes and realize that there is something wrong and they may not even know it. We'll reveal some amazing technology for optimizing compressors, which is a big energy hog in the HVAC world. We'll share case studies and we'll show you who needs this the most. Finally, we'll reveal financials along with the techniques that you can use to explain to the senior executives and get executive sponsorship, because at the end of the day, any project that you're going to get involved with is going to require their participation. So is this queued into that device? Greg, where are you? Michael? Technical difficulties. We engineers are used to it. Thank you. So I guess I already went through this. Who listened while I walked through all these pieces? Doing nothing is clearly not an option. That's a big pointer. So moving forward. There we go. All right. So the bad news is that one of the biggest problems, commercial buildings were not designed to be energy efficient. Roughly 80% of them are not energy efficient. A lot of people know that. The good news is the single largest controllable operating cost, which is typically 30% or so of the building's variable costs. And the good news for you folks is that cooling and refrigeration accounts for a sizable portion. They're the #1 and 2 sources of electricity consumption. And if you look at the pie chart, you'll combine them and notice that over 37% of the electricity is used for HVACR. And since it does represent the largest slice, it's clearly the best place to look for savings. People understand that piece of it, but the key question is how? How do we get the savings, right? So, by the way, don't forget, there's a little note down here somewhere that talks about the EPA. Little energy spike is going to happen, like 20%, if we get just a 1.8 degree Fahrenheit jump in temperature. So we're going to see some significant increases in energy usage for cooling purposes. Anyway, more of the good news for you folks is to address some of the COVID-driven objectives, increasing airflow, outdoor air ventilation at the lowest cost, and helping offset lost sales. Energy efficiency is a critical motivator. Now, there's been a New York City study that showed that while occupancy dropped as much as 95% at the height of the pandemic, only 5% experienced whole building energy reductions above 30%. Over 40% saw a paltry 10 to 30% reduction in energy usage, even though nobody was there. The energy didn't really go down much. Worse, which is something shocking, over 50% didn't even see a 10% reduction during the worst of the pandemic. And these are the key reasons your roles are so important. You're the trusted sources, the engineers, the fact figures, the people who look at the details and educate others on what's important and how to go about it. Your role is vital to improving energy efficiency. And I think most people in here would agree with that, understand that, and know it. Now, you've all seen variations of the project management mantra, good, fast, cheap, right? Pick two. Everybody's pretty much seen that for project management. There are key evaluation characteristics that determine what you do, and we all understand the best option is typically one that's going to drive the highest value to cost ratio. Now, ideally, we like to choose something that's easy to implement if we're going to be on the team implementing it. We want it to be the least intrusive because nobody else wants to complain about it. We don't want to hear complaints while we're implementing it. And we want to have the shortest payback period. Want it to be safe, and if you really want management's buy-in, you want it to be the lowest cost. So remembering energy is the single largest controllable operating cost, typically around 30% of the building's variable costs. And although HVACR is typically the top consumer of electricity consumption, energy efficiency measures like compressor optimization often compete for limited funding. And since the financials drive most of the decisions, the key to choosing which project to start with usually begins by comparing the payback periods and the ROI of different projects. Here we have a sampling of energy efficiency options that exist for commercial buildings. And they run the gamut from things like LED lighting, which everybody knows about, building automation control systems, which people may be involved in projects already that they're either recommending or involved in implementing, smart building digital twins. There's a whole host of pieces. But when you start drilling in, you really want to look at the HVAC efficiency measures because that's where the biggest bang for the buck is. And then, of course, the low-cost compressor issues is a real driver because, as people probably know, the compressor can use as much as 90% of the energy of an HVAC system. Not always that high, but it can be that high. So this is a simple competitive landscape. And the first thing, of course, that we recommend is preventive maintenance, which is the single most important energy efficiency measure. So PM is critical. So let's then start looking at some typical New York practices. So in New York, preventive maintenance is not very common. Roughly 2/3 of New Yorkers are reactive. Only 16% schedule something, but only 18% really develop and deploy true preventive maintenance. This is an untapped market. Preventive maintenance is a huge message that we think is critical. And if you understand how to deal with it and what the metrics are behind it, we think everybody ought to have preventive maintenance on their systems. They have it on the car, people get that. But 20% maybe have it on their HVAC equipment, and that's just unacceptable. So fortunately, one of the simplest solutions, preventive maintenance, is the one that we feel is significantly underutilized. And then, of course, people ask why. Now, it's overlooked both by the buyers as well as by the sellers, people who do the service. And there's two key reasons. One, it's really the value is poorly understood. And more importantly, the exceptional value is very poorly communicated. And so we've actually developed some material we hope you take with you. We share it with you to get the word out, to document how impactful it can be. So the fact is, if you don't deploy basic preventive maintenance, you will not achieve the manufacturer's specifications for energy efficiency. And in fact, PM has proven to be the single most important energy efficiency measure. Without PM, the efficiency decreases on average about 5% per year. With it, you can limit that decrease in performance to 1 to 2%. So you'll prolong the life of the system as an important piece of it. So you also understand that both the reactionary and the preventive maintenance have a number of things in common. However, preventive maintenance not only saves more money, it reduces the risks. It reduces the #1 facility management complaints, 1 or 2 really. It's too hot or it's too cold. Those are 1 and 2 for you people who know facility managers, year in and year out. This will eliminate that, reduce it. The other thing is it extends the life of the equipment. Preventive maintenance enables the service teams to actually anticipate workloads. So this is important from the implementer's standpoint. And it also prevents crisis management. And this is important from both the customer's perspective as well as the contractor's perspective. Now, although outside air side economizers can provide improved indoor air quality and energy savings, please realize many of them fail within the first 2 years. In fact, research shows that over 60% have failed in the field. How many people knew that? Well, just a couple, but everybody here has heard about that type of technology, right? And thought it was really good stuff. Well, it can be, but it fails. And if they fail while they're open, they're going to draw on hot outside air, potentially forcing cooling equipment to work even harder than necessary and consuming significantly more energy. But here's the problem. People do nothing. And you have to understand that they do nothing, and they have to understand what it means to do nothing, because it's no longer an option. So according to numerous studies, US Department of Energy, et cetera, 80% of the units would immediately benefit by some form of preventive maintenance. Not all the studies report exactly what percentage of the units are affected by the problem, but you can see the interesting metrics here. Coils clearly being cleaned on a routine basis. Everybody understands that, but they're not cleaned routinely. The other issues being refrigerant charge, TVX valves, fan belts, et cetera. The percentages of these aren't necessarily known, but we know the impacts. Now, if you take a look at what they translate to in terms of the percentage of energy wasted, your average repair of 80% of the units is going to save about 26%. Who knew that? Nobody. That's an important metric. 26% is significant. People invest their money these days and get 10%, they're excited. 26% is major. Again, we have seen studies that show that 80% of the units with coil issues are going to get about 11% savings. But according to our friends here at ASHRAE, in the Carbon Trust study, they documented a 25% savings, 15 to 25%. So I think that's high on average in New York specifically. I think that was a number that came more globally. But here's the fun. This comes from a great quote. Anybody here a Peter Gabriel fan? There's a wonderful song. It has a total of 13 words, or 11 words, I'm sorry. And these are the words. And this is how you get people to change. This is the change train. And if you can understand how this works, you can actually help anybody who wishes to change, including yourself. If you don't have any pain, you're probably not going to see change, because that's the real driver. People are fear motivated, much more fear motivated away from pain than they are toward pleasure. Peter Gabriel says, from the pain come the dream. From the dream come the vision. From the vision come the people. From the people come the power. And from this power come the change. That's the entire song. That's a sales cycle, if you will, too. But in this situation, what we're looking at is, we all know the pain being the energy wasted. We have a dream of reducing it. Some people have some vision, and we are the people. We are the people who need to take this message, because that's where the power comes from to get to change. And that's why I'm excited to share this specifically with you, the ASHRAE members, because it's critical that we enable people to make these changes. If you can identify their real pain and get to the root of it, this is how we can get them to make change. And the real true root to a lot of savings of pain and moving to change is money. So follow the money. Everybody's heard that expression. Now, the key to getting the prospect to act quickly is knowing how to present the money to real decision makers. Those are the ones focused on the financials. So rather than focus on the savings, that 26% savings we talked about earlier, we need to change our vocabulary. It's a very subtle psychological issue. Everybody loves to save. That's great. I love to save. And you might get some people motivated to save, but you'll get a lot more people motivated because they hate to waste. Would you rather save money, or would you rather get rid of wasting money? Nobody wants to waste. And if you can talk to people, not in terms of savings, but in terms of what they're wasting, it's more impactful. You'll motivate them more, much more compelling. Now let's take a look at somebody who's currently paying $100 a month for electricity, and preventive maintenance could save them just 20%. If you're going to save 20%, that means your new cost is $80, right? So the new cost is $80. So whether you call it saved or wasted, the dollars are the same, $20. But the difference is, if I save you 20%, I'm saving you 20 bucks, but $20 is what percentage of 80? If you should be spending 80 and you're spending 100, you're spending $20 too much. You're spending a quarter of the dollars that you're spending too much. You're spending 25% more than you should be. Everybody understands how that flips the 20% to 25%? Any questions on the financials on that one? This is important. This is how you talk to people about wasted is more impactful, and they're wasting a higher percentage. That's going to help you drive it more effectively. We'll get to that. It's a very good question. It's a great question. And if it weren't cost effective, I wouldn't be here. Not 30%. It's proven to be much more beneficial, not just in dollars, but in all the soft costs. So for example, we'll get to it. We'll get to that. It's a great question. But let's take a deeper dive here, shall we? So like the earlier slide where we showed the 26% saved, in this case, 26% translates to 35% wasted. And that's a profound change, 26 to 35. Now, column 1 shows the percent saved, column 2 flips it. And remember, if someone's currently paying the $100 a month for electricity, they could save 20. That would then cost them 80. So we see how we flip this, and these show the different percentages for the different aspects of the problems that are typical. So let's take a deeper dive into the actual money. In New York, a 5-ton system that is currently wasting energy because it's not in proper maintenance is $276. That's not a lot, but it's only a 5-ton system. Multiply it by bigger systems or multiple systems, and the dollars add up very quickly. And by the way, these are the metrics that we ran for a system in Buffalo. New York City is comparable, it's a little higher maybe, but these are the Buffalo numbers. So as you can see, the savings would more than justify the costs of preventive maintenance, which would not be $276 for a PM program. By the way, people in here are not just HVAC air conditioning, they're refrigeration too, correct? So HVAC is only one piece of it. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the refrigeration pieces, because this is even bigger. Turns out that the studies show that for these typical 2-door merchandisers, the amount of energy wasted is significantly more than a typical air conditioner. They're on all the time, 24/7, 365. Door opening and closing, and worse, these are never maintained. 95% of these systems in New York City, at least, are not maintained. If you could clean the coils on here, it would be a huge area. Anybody who wants to get into a new business, there's a gold mine waiting to be happening right here, cleaning these coils out. Because there will be buildings in New York City with local law 97 around the corner, landlords who have tenants that have major bills that are doing convenience stores or grocery stores are wasting a fortune on the cooling costs. So take a look here. Two-door New York, the dollars on an annual basis, 903. Annual cost dirty, 1,700. Twice as much. This is New York City for one of these units. Significant dollars associated with that. And when you look at the dollars wasted, again, if you should be spending 903 and you're spending 1,721, 100% of the money you're spending almost is being wasted because you're doubling it. And you don't need to. After a thorough cleaning, these units foul roughly 8% per month. Studies show that even after thorough cleaning, they're going to continue to foul. And some types of businesses, like a pizza parlor, where they're throwing dust in the air when they make the dough, they should be cleaned on the regular. Some of these places, every couple of months, if not every couple of weeks, could be cleaned and save tons of money. And we know a few ways to mitigate this waste. So these are the big benefits of preventive maintenance beyond just the dollars that this gentleman asked about earlier. There's a lot of soft benefits in here. So take a look at it. From a customer's perspective, it's going to reduce your operating costs and keep you from wasting 30 to 70% on cooling and refrigeration. It's going to improve workplace comfort for your tenants or for your employees. It's going to decrease food spoilage if you're in the business of cooling food. It's going to decrease HVACR downtime. And this is a big one because prevented unexpected crisis management is a problem. Who in here likes crisis management? Only some consultants like crisis management. Most people can't stand it. And if you think about the dollars associated with crisis management, if the system goes down, how many executives for how many hours are tied up in crisis management that aren't accounted for in the dollars when you look at the other side of it, the hard dollars? People don't consider that piece of it, but it's very truly expensive because these people are worth a lot of money. They should be more productive with their time. Additional indirect monetary benefits could be brand recognition, attracting new employees, or attracting new tenants. How many people here knew that LEED buildings attract more tenants at a higher price point? This has been proven. So if you want to attract more tenants, you give them higher quality services, you become not just LEED, but you become a WELL building standard. If anybody here is familiar with the WELL building standards, if you go that direction, even if you aren't certified, as long as you have the metrics that show you're going in that direction and you can share them with prospective tenants, you can increase the rent. Of course, there's also benefits for the installers and the service providers, not the least of which is increasing utilization of technical resources. The more companies and clients that you have on preventive maintenance allows you to better allocate your resources. So going back, the second most recommended deploying thing that we see in the marketplace are actually programmable thermostats. Everybody's familiar with those. They're very simple. And they provide multiple ways to help, including offering different comfort settings for occupied time versus unoccupied time. But after those two, the most popular energy efficiency measures in recent years has been LED lighting. LED lighting is great, except that it has a very long payback period and a lot of upfront costs. So it reminds me of a story. A retail bank, one of the world's 10 largest retail banks, in fact, they completed 2 large-scale projects simultaneously. one of which was LED lighting, and the other was compressor optimization. And they had a contract where they needed to save over $5 million was the goal. Turns out that the compressor optimization delivered almost 3 times as much of the savings as LED lighting, with a payback period in that situation of under a year. Significant. So those devices, we're going to talk a little more about that. They save the bank significant money. I think there are 895 of those compressor optimization devices across 55 different branch offices for this bank in 5 different countries. Average savings was 27%. Significant. Now, of course, as COVID-19 has reminded us, it's beneficial to monitor the health and safety of building spaces, including having remote access to indoor buildings and the conditions in real time, including the indoor air quality, and using devices to track that. So those are also going to be competing with in terms of the dollars associated with any of these projects. The other common non-HVACR measures include the plug loads, the envelopes, windows, other technologies, building operations, building controls. But let's dive a little deeper. Let's take a look at the options for low-cost compressor retrofits. So in case you're wondering why this compressor optimization device did so well for that bank, it has a singular advantage. It targets the compressor, which, as I mentioned earlier, might consume as much as 90% of the energy used for HVAC. So trying to optimize runtime, 20 years ago, we tried a bunch of things. We started using timers like we do with lights, but that approach was unable to deliver predictable results. Later, we started to see technologies that attached to an existing thermostat, read the thermostat sensor and applied artificial intelligence, and that helped a little bit. But it was limited to the information of just that one thermostat sensor and its historical data. And think about how many thermostats are not installed at the ideal spot. Our house, for example, we had to have it moved. It wasn't the right spot when the builders built it in. There are other technologies available that offer a single additional sensor and artificial intelligence, and the problem with those is that they only work for specific use cases. They do not deliver predictable results, especially in environments that are highly variable weather and have variable indoor demand conditions. On the other hand, since these devices use dual sensors with artificial intelligence and energy algorithms, they can uniquely adapt rapidly to variable demand and deliver more predictable benefits than alternatives. So let's talk about the compressor options. Keep in mind, by the way, the device we're talking about in particular is not really a residential device. It's not suited for those purposes. It's been tested for government and municipal sites, commercial sites, but it's not used where somebody has the ability to, at any time they want, change the thermostat and change the setting. So think about these optimizers as a thermostat's best friend. They complement what the thermostat does. The prime problem with the thermostat and building automation systems is that they unintentionally call for compressor run times during part load, full load, and peak load conditions. For example, during a part load condition, most often space is overcooled. During peak demand, many units run all day long because the thermostat simply cannot achieve the set point. To ensure thermal comfort, which is priority number one, these devices have multiple sensors. It's one of the things that sets them apart. And they get placed in different locations from where the thermostat is located. And this allows them to independently take measurements used to assess the energy saving opportunities by reducing compressor run times. They're compatible with all DX type devices, such as RTUs, splits, heat pumps, etc. And they do not require connection to the internet nor any upgrade to any existing infrastructure. Excuse me for a second. So best practice technology has documented an average of 30% savings of energy consumption reduction. 30%, that's significant. We've observed a wide variety of results based upon differences in climate, property type, the internal heat load thermostat settings, ventilation. Would not be appropriate for